Good evening. Hello, everyone. I'd like to very warmly welcome you all at tonight's very exciting masterclass, CryptoClass, at this merged evening webinar. Uh, it, I'd like to inform everyone that you can click on the globe below. I'm not saying it in Hungarian. Well, I'm saying it in English, but he will say it in both languages. So you can choose the English, but if you can hear me, you are already on the right English channel. So if you can hear me, then you are on the right channel for English. So I'd like to thank you very much for joining us, and we wish to thank Eva Csere very much for interpreting. The honor is on me. Thank you. You may have heard her voice a lot of times since Mosaic was launched. From the very first moment, she is here from time to time when we reach a very important moment. And tonight is such a moment, so it's not by coincidence that we will have several of us here on this evening. And we will tell you about some exciting things, new things. And we'll also give you a small status update because we all know that there are things to discuss about our past things as well. So without further ado, I am not going to waste your time. I'll pass the floor to Péter, Molnár and Attila Vidákovics as they are here with us in the office. Can you hear us? Yes. Can you hear us well? Yes. Just one moment ago, I could only see a movement of your mouth. We also have Péter Bognár next to me. So we'll go silent and then pass the floor to you. Let's talk a little bit, of course, about where we are. And then let's step a little bit into the future. And of course, everyone who is here is looking forward to hearing all the information we still owe you. Okay. Let's start with the development matters then. We are in the finish line now, and now part of the team couldn't be given a task to do. So we can practically say that we just need to move a few matchsticks, not toothpicks, but matchsticks, and the onboarding process may start. And all the tasks regarding the platform are completed. We are trying to get to a stage where we don't need to put the chain in the sub-wallet manually. But of course, if we cannot resolve a simple choice very fast, then entering the item manually in this sub-wallet takes an extra couple of minutes. And we'll be back to you about this very soon. Now we are in a holiday season, yes? No, it actually doesn't make a difference in this team, but I'm going to do some Easter watering, which is a Hungarian custom. Okay, so we actually published today the weekly report on the website, and you can see that we managed to straighten out most of the things, and we believe that the technology itself was a good choice simply because the governance model is done with a technology that offers a faster solution. Without this, it would have been another 2 years. And there were voices saying that if there are so many strange things, well, it may not have been a good choice. And undeniably, we were met with some surprises. Things didn't work the way it should have done in this system. Nevertheless, all in all, it actually contributed a lot more to this solution than it has taken away. And actually, we'll have a technology that is much better than if we started only 1 year later. So this is a recurring question. so I thought to mention it. We are still suffering a little bit with the index matter, but now there are only 3 things to be resolved. The first one being transaction sizes, which we wish to increase, and a couple of other things. As we said before, if the list that we plan for next week, basically onboarding will be able to start. Well, this is all I can say about the development. But of course, outside the development, there are also very important tasks, primarily on my side. But of course, this part as well has a number of dimensions to it, and you will get to know several dimensions. So first of all, we wish to bring projects to the Mosaic chain. It started with a fantastic player, IOP Global, and there is no denying it that the fact that they came opened up many doors for us. And actually, they have a very different attitude on the part of the project due to the fact that we managed to convince such an important player to shift, which is extremely helpful. We are actually keeping many options open, and we can let in not only one option, but we actually need to let in as many as possible. We are working on making sure there are as many as possible. The thing is that communication started in so many directions, and we received invitations online and face-to-face from so many places. We even had offerings of plane tickets. So there are so many things happening that this kind of relationship building work is not going to be stopped, but we are going to reduce the intensity. I forgot to say something interesting. I forgot to say, so can I say it? Okay, so I'll follow from here. So I don't know how much you are following it, but the influencer campaign for Mosaic Alpha was actually very positive, and the first baskets were created. Now I was only focusing on the chain, but it is also an important development, and the number of followers also started growing dynamically as a result of the campaign. I just remember that there are other things rather than just the chain, and perhaps now, from the aspect of Mosaic, the more important thing, apart from onboarding, of course, is to have the successful launch. So we created 2 info baskets, and we'll create another 8 at least, and the process had just started. Well, there are actually 8 who already checked in, but obviously others will also check in. But these baskets were launched by people who also have a following. I even know an applicant that you cannot be aware of. They come from the US, from Florida. Very good. So the point is that there is not only the chain and the webnet, but, well, obviously most of the team is working on it so that they can immediately make repairs if an issue occurs, because now we are in a mission critical stage. Obviously, this is next to the chain, but the 2 teams are not overlapping, so one is not holding back the other. This is what I wanted to add. It's very important, and it's very good news that it started, and indeed, there are many involved. Of course, and on top of all of this, we are working at full force, and luckily not alone. We have professional help that is by now fully committed to Mosaic, someone together with whom we are working to make sure there are as many projects coming in as possible. So what do we need the projects for? Now we have the blockchain that indeed will be available to the market within a foreseeable period. But how useful is a technology or a project that has no projects coming in? Without projects, it's not useful, but once we have the good projects coming in, it will become very useful. So as a matter of fact, it's the projects running on it that determine how useful a blockchain is. obviously, if it is useful, then it will generate turnover, traffic. If there is traffic, then that means that there is local use, which means that validators have a job to do and no one has to do it manually, and they don't need to sit by the computer as a result. It's done automatically. But at the end of the formula, there is an equal sign, and what comes behind shows up in the price of the crypto asset. So we need to bring in projects, which brings life to the chain, and that increases the size of the community and the ecosystem, which is of key importance. And it does make a difference as to how fast we can reach this stage. It's much more valuable to have X number of players on the chain in a short period of time rather than in a long period of time, because time and quantity have a gravitational force, and the higher they are each, the higher the gravitational force is. And we can be certain that if we reach, well, I don't know whether I should give you a specific figure because there is no such definition in existence, but if we have a massive number of projects on the chain and also high quality projects, then from that point onwards, we don't have to run after the projects because they will start coming in by themselves. And it's this critical level that we need to reach as quickly as possible, because from the moment projects start coming in by themselves, it's only from that point that we can sit back from this respect. So how are we trying to do this? We attend professional events where we build relations, and now the main job is to well, we have built up these relations to a high number, and the reception was so positive that all the players we wish to work with was open to join thinking, getting to know each other, and join planning. So actually, most of our energy now is spent on carrying on this process and getting to a stage where they are on the Mosaic chain. But that's not the only way to bring in projects to the Mosaic chain. There are several ways, several approaches. And there are opportunities we have always calculated with, and we always thought we should actually turn it to our benefit, because it's not only important to us to have projects on the Mosaic chain, it's also important for the Polkadot ecosystem to have projects coming into the Polkadot ecosystem. And if we have projects coming into the Mosaic chain, that will also add projects to the Polkadot ecosystem. So there is an opportunity where it would be silly not to use the fact that there is a community, there is a nice number of people creating a strong community who we can communicate with and who can communicate themselves. And it doesn't stop at this point. It's simply a significant extra factor. And that means that we need to grab all the opportunities to bring in projects. I don't know how much you are familiar with this particular field, but in the crypto world, a project can start in a number of different ways. And there is one specific approach, relatively popular approach, whereby projects are launched from a so-called launch pad. And such a launch pad has benefits for the investors, i.e. those who buy the tokens. It also has benefits for the projects that launch on it. And obviously, there is also a benefit for the entity that operates this launchpad. So how do these launchpads operate? I cannot show you all the launchpad types because they are to some degree all different. Some are more different, some are less, but in very general terms, the way it works, and let's take the Binance launchpad, which is part of the Binance Stock Exchange. And the way it works is that if a project wants to launch on this launchpad, they obviously pay a rather significant sum to Binance, and they use their own tokens to do so, which will be purchased by the users and the investors via the platform. And they also pay a certain amount of stable coins. And in exchange for that, they receive marketing. And of course, Binance has significant marketing value behind the projects, and they also get a community that they can communicate towards. And Binance is also a significant player in this sense. Obviously, they are in a very different position, but the situation is different, the service is different. And of course, Binance gets then things listed on the Binance exchange. So what else will the project get? Not so much the project actually, but the investors. So what will they get? Binance will actually assess the project, run a due diligence on the project and the team that creates the project. It looks at the targets, it looks at the codes and the technology. And of course, you cannot communicate backwards. But if you look at how many assets are actually listed, then you will see 30 million and several hundreds of thousands of projects, which is a rather nice number, especially compared to the fact that 1.5 to 2 years ago there were 20,000. So you can calculate how many new projects emerge each day. And if someone emerges newly and they wish to decide which token they should buy, well, it's a difficult decision. Obviously, a launchpad never gives any guarantee for the success of a given project, but they do filter the project. So we can be certain that on the Binance launchpad, no project will be started that was created effectively for the purpose of cheating people, because Binance will filter that out, which means that investors will also have the opportunity to choose from a filtered, pre-assessed list. And they get a set of information that allows them to get to know the project better. Because the launch pad can stipulate what type of information must be provided towards investors. Now, you may have guessed that the word launchpad is a recurring word. So that means that the Mosaic launchpad will be actually brought to life. As I said, there are many different launchpads. Obviously, we cannot compete with the Binance launchpad, and we cannot compete in terms of community either, although the difference is smaller because then we can use the Polkadot ecosystem. But of course, we are still behind in terms of community, but we can offer a lot of things. So when a project is looking for a blockchain and a launchpad as to where they should go to, what do? They look at the benefits and why it would be good for them to launch on a specific launchpad. They also look at the costs and they choose the platform where they wish to launch. So what is it we can offer to the project? On the one hand, we can give communities, because Mosaic has a smaller number of followers on the community platforms, which will increase because we are just about to launch the influencer campaign, etc., etc. There is a network they can communicate towards, and there is a Polkadot ecosystem they can also communicate towards. So we can certainly offer a community towards which information can be conveyed. But what else can we offer? And now you should keep an eye on this because it's a very important thing. A project that is looking for a blockchain has not yet developed the project itself. And projects are typically struggling to have enough money for development. On our launchpad, they can raise money, but we will only allow in the projects on the launchpad, and there will be a very strict filter there that is useful for the Mosaic chain. And a project that is useful for the Mosaic chain means that the value and usefulness of the ecosystem will be boosted. And if its value is boosted, it will also increase the value for Mosaic Point. And this is what we want to achieve. It's clear, it's in everyone's interest. This is what we want to do. So if there is a project that is good, and if it's launched on the Mosaic Launchpad, and if it wants to move to the Mosaic chain, or if it's in touch in any way with the Mosaic chain that makes it more valuable, then they can get money from the treasury of the Mosaic chain for development only. And I think it represents very strong motivation. And it's not only that there will be such projects, but we already have some projects that wish to launch on Mosaic Launchpad. So we can certainly offer value to the launching projects. And what's also important to remember is that in the Polkadot ecosystem, this will be the first Launchpad. Don't get confused by the fact that there is a Polka Launchpad. It has nothing to do with Polkadot. The Polka starter Launchpad actually started well before Polkadot, so it's only a coincidence of name. It has nothing to do with Polkadot. So for the Polkadot ecosystem, it's a welcome fact that a new Launchpad is coming, because a project that would like to launch in the Polkadot ecosystem with a development, is not in an easy position, because it comes in, it looks around, it reads through the community groups, and it won't be able to decide which chain it should get in contact with. If they actually arrange a blockchain, it will not be easy to get in touch with the given blockchain, because this is not the usual way of looking for projects in the Polkadot ecosystem. Somehow it was left out from the Polkadot ecosystem, not because they are against it, because it's in everyone's interest to have them come in, but because everyone is working on something else. And if they use this software technology and they want to emerge in the ecosystem, it's not easy for them to choose the blockchain where they should do their development. We are talking about roughly 60 to 70 ecosystems. And they don't have an easy job to do until Mosaic Launchpad starts. Because at the moment it has started, it will be very clear where it's worth coming. Because the Launchpad is there, which aims to keep these projects in the Polkadot ecosystem on the Mosaic chain. And what's more, the conditions will also be given as to how much they gain and what it will cost for them, because of course it will cost them money. For them, well, they need to give a certain percentage of their own token. There is no fixed number, it depends on the token mix, but in general terms, relative to the total supply, the quantity, it can be anything between, 3%, 5%, 1%. It depends on the characteristics of the project, but they need to give a certain percentage to the Launchpad. And only projects are allowed that are assessed to be by the chosen controllers to be useful for the Mosaic chain. So this is roughly the filter, and I could go into further details. So the topic of the project obviously makes a difference, but I don't want to go deeper into that. The quality of the team also makes a difference. It's very important. So you know, to look at the individual people, their professional background, expertise. We should look at whether it's a coherent, cohesive team, and whether they have reached something on the market. And you also need to look at the total picture. And once that filter is cleared, then they can come to the Launchpad, where they can sell the token through which or from which they can raise the money, crowdfunding, ICO, or whatever you call it, required for the development. And if indeed, if they are useful for the Mosaic chain, they can also get some money from Mosaic Treasury. And once the development is completed and launched, it will bring in users, liquidity, and life. And if the project is such, then the services of this project do help the services of the other project as well. I don't know if you have anything to add at this point. No, I don't. And then let's look at what happens on the investor side and what benefits will be enjoyed by those who buy the tokens. And that's important because here Novalus can realize a major advantage. The way a launch looks on a launch pad in general terms is that the projects are launched, and in general terms, we have a first stage or a minus first stage or zero stage token sale only open to those who have acquired one right or another on the launchpad. Depending on the launchpad, these rights or such rights can be obtained in different ways. They need to keep or stake the launchpad's own token typically, and that will decide into which category the investor will fall into. But in the minus first and the zero stage, only they are allowed to make purchases from these discounted tokens. And what is this discount? In some cases, they say that the project gives a very small quantity at a very discounted price, maybe even at half price, but only small quantities. Or they say that for that group of investors, it's possible to buy unlimited amounts, but only at a discount of 10%. So it could be anything. But the essence of the point is that those that have special rights can buy at a discount, and more so than the first stage buyers, which stage is open to everyone. And even when you can buy freely, those who make a purchase first are normally better off. So they would say, okay, one token costs $10, but in the first 14 days, they sell it for $9 only. And then in the next stage, they charge $9.50. And then let's say 1 to 2 months later, let's say 2 months, if the project runs in 60 days, then everyone needs to pay $10. So there are things like that, and something similar will happen on the Mosaic Launchpad too. There will certainly be 1 or 2 stages open to those only for token purchases who acquired a right on the Mosaic Launchpad. And we actually have something to check here while we talk. Obviously, it's a controlled project, and investors will also benefit from the fact that they can make purchases from the tokens of a controlled project. And of course, a controlled project is not a guarantee for the success of the project. It just means that projects that are launched as fraudulent projects are not allowed in by the system. It's actually more than that, because they don't let in projects that are not serious. There is also a kind of transparency, and information must be provided about certain mandatory components by the project. So what else will be received by the project? The Mosaic chain will have a continually growing community, and it actually has a massive community within the Polkadot platform. So there will be those who will introduce themselves, the so-called Ask Me Anything sessions, and they will talk to the community online. So what else can be given to the project? The Mosaic Point will be certainly involved, but at the moment we don't see how we could help with coding, but we can certainly play a kind of advisory role. And in many cases, that's actually the most valuable thing when someone is holding our hands or people's hands and help them through the critical points. If you search for it, you will see different lists as to what kind of projects were launched on what launch pads with what kind of success rate. So there are different launch pads. There are some serious ones and some makeshift ones. So it does make a difference as to which one you look at. But if you gather or pick out the 3, 4, 5 really serious launch pads, then you can see that the project they launched, they actually started very positively. And I was thinking about how many examples to give to you, and deliberately I didn't take the most successful example. I chose one, Polygon, that probably most of you heard about. And if you wish to search for it, it's important to know that it started by the name of Matic Network. So that's how you will find the history of this project, Matic Network. So it started from 0.002 cents. It was 0.0026. That's the price they started from. Today it's worth about 100 times that much, but when they were at the peak, the token was worth 1,000 times of its initial price. And I could pick other examples as well. Obviously, they were not all successful. But if you look at the ratios, the projects that started on good launch pads were significantly to a much higher ratio successful than those not launched on a launch pad. And of course, Polygon, I think, is a very good example for this. And as we don't have a time machine, they actually started on the Binance Launchpad, and we cannot check, but we believe that if they had launched not on a launchpad, they wouldn't have been that successful. And of course, a launchpad doesn't equal surefire success, but I'll read out all the points we put here on this so-called auto queue. Okay, so there is no guarantee, but it significantly reduces the chance of fraud, helps you with your decision, and supplies you with the right information. Very nice wording. Patty, have we already discussed these things? Maybe you should contribute a little bit rather than just me talking. Okay. Obviously, Oti already said that we need to bring in projects to the Mosaic chain. And I think the biggest value from the list you listed is the community and the treasury. And it's not by coincidence this solution so basically, it will be preceded by a community voting. They will give a seal of approval through this for the project. And I believe that we would like to actually do it as quickly as possible. That because it will create a development that will reduce the uncertainty, but we will also need it to support the project. And as to what kind of filtering and assessment systems we will establish, well, I don't want to go too deep into that. And we also need to look at what kind of communities we can carry on the project with. Well, obviously, it's important to be present on a launch pad that allows us to take the project to a strong community like the one we are talking about, which will actually become the most significant value for the projects. And the main reason why they should go for the launch pads. And that's what I wanted to add to this. And actually, everything serves the purpose of Mosaic chain becoming as successful as possible. So the Launchpad, we can say, offers full synergy with the entire ecosystem. And as you said, it's very good that we don't wish to introduce any kind of technological firsts with this Launchpad. We don't need any technology innovation. And if we could actually resolve a solution whereby 3D butterflies would fly out of your monitors, that would not represent added value from the aspect of the functionality of the Launchpad. So it's going to be a shorter development period from all aspects. And it will also be possible to get special rights for a limited period of time, and I already made a reference to that. Soon the first pilot will be launched on the Launchpad, and of course future own projects will also be launched there, but it's not our own project. And the way it was created is that, well, we had never actually talked to anyone about the Launchpad coming to the Mosaic chain. It was spontaneously mentioned. And we already had an applicant from this. And at the discussion earlier today, okay, we didn't say that please help us look for projects. We simply mentioned the Launchpad. And he said, okay, now he'll talk to someone because they are just about to launch and they are looking for a Launchpad. And they became immediately very enthusiastic about how everything falls into place for them to launch on this Launchpad. So first, we are, well, it looks like we have applicants from the internal circle of relations. And once the full Launchpad is introduced, it will be open to the public. But there will be some strict conditions. It will not be possible to check in for the Launchpad by saying, I know Péter Molnár, and then I call by phone. Everyone will hear that all documents and information must be provided on the form, on the Launchpad. And once the applications come in, it will be only after that it will be decided whether the story can proceed. That will definitely be the first step. And that's what it will be. And actually, everything else is more technical or professional. Shruti, is there anything you believe we have left out and we should discuss? Yes, two things actually. You mentioned, firstly, that there is already a pilot story that you are joining first, but I also know that we have progressed a little bit further than that, and we already communicated this in Toronto. There will be a huge, large conference where you have been invited to a number of roundtable discussions, where you will also have the opportunity to, we will have the opportunity to communicate about this. And there is one more important thing. Let's talk a little bit more about this. How will the regulation impact the new tokens? So let's start with the second one. So new tokens may only be launched if they have a MiCA license, which can be obtained. It's not an issue, but it will take longer than just a week or two. But luckily, the high tokens are already out there on the market, but they fall under the moratorium because they had pre-existed. And therefore, the Launchpad tokens will, as a matter of fact, come to existence from the high tokens. And I'm not going to go into details of the reasons. It will be very easy and simple for you, but the essence is that high tokens will become the Launchpad tokens, and instead of the high tokens, there will be a new token created that will probably be given a new name. And actually, the Launchpad token will not have the name of high token either, but we'll go into the details of that a little bit later. What you need to see is regulation. We have to find a solution, and there is a relatively simple solution. But this is the reason why you will have to click through a certain process that you will hear more about. It will be very simple. The second point, what Chuti doesn't know, is that we were not invited only to Toronto, and I'll tell you more about that, but we were also invited to Estonia. And there is a total coincidence in time. So yes, we already confirmed our attendance to Toronto, or we need to split the team. And actually, we couldn't do that because how was it? I don't remember the exact days, but we went to travel to London on Friday, late evening. We came home from London on Saturday at 2 o'clock at night. I entered my house. And then at 11 on Sunday, I was sitting on a plane again, traveling somewhere else. And from there on, I came home the day before yesterday. And in the meantime, I had phone calls, chats, etc., etc. So we need to be in Estonia and Toronto at the same time. In Toronto, there is this huge event that we cannot participate in, pretty much, I would say, because in Toronto, there will be 6 different discussions where they thought we would be happy to attend because of the event. And then the half a day when they would actually entice us to the event would be okay, and we could spend the rest of the time at the event. But what they don't know is that there are 6 such people. And when Chuti found out about this information, Estonia was not in the picture yet. And even though from Estonia, we were only invited by one team, this one team is much more important than each of the other 6. And we haven't yet figured out how to manage this situation, but I'm going to tell you that we actually wanted to leave Moscow to this side because it also coincides with something else. But now we also had a team checked in who wants to meet us in Moscow. And we told them that we thought about it, but it's not easy to travel to Moscow. Well, why not try and buy a ticket? It's not impossible. It's pretty close to impossible. And the team, after they felt that we were not trigger happy to go for Moscow, they arranged a ticket for us to Moscow via Azerbaijan, a kind of ticket that you couldn't even buy from Hungary. So it's a little bit too much, but joyfully too much. So we are very happy about this. And we actually, again, talked today, Chuti, at least 3 times, yes? Yes, that's true. But there are so many things I didn't even think of saying this. At least I found out as well. It was worthwhile coming. So I don't know what will happen. We already confirmed our attendance in Toronto. We will go somewhere and maybe to several locations. Well, what matters is that we'll be there, we'll attend. And if you think about how many countries you have been, London to Bucharest, shall I list it? London, Bucharest, Warsaw, Slovenia, London, and Italy. So that's only in the past 2 months, 6 places. Well, we have been to London twice. Okay, so if you are finished, then let's move on. because of course this was one part of the evening, so we are not going to disappear. We'll just actually hide the camera. So on the one hand, I trust that you understand what Attila and Péter talked about and what a giant step it is in our lives. On the one hand, as they said, from the first moment when the Mosaic project was launched 3.5 years ago, we said that it's not only blockchain and that we have in mind, but developments that are built upon each other. And in the decentralized world, we wish to create something permanent. So this is a new component. So Mosaic Launchpad is a new component in this process and is again something that was not there before. Similarly to all the other developments where we try to create something that is unique to the community to have a competitive advantage. The other important point is that as Attila and Péter showed you the essence and the operation of the launchpad, well, I don't know how much you know, but there are millions of crypto projects around. And of course, we are not aware of many. And there are even others that are even not included in this huge number, even though there are developers that are geniuses and their ideas are even more geniuses, but they don't actually have the opportunity or capability to raise money even for the launch. And that's what Attila was talking about. And we are also credible in the sense that we can support those who come through the Polkadot ecosystem, because we are going through this process. And you can also see in the context of DevNet that we actually go through as pioneers these steps, and then we can help others have it easier without having to stumble through the stumbling blocks. But then the question arises as to how the entire community can progress from here and become whole. So it's not only the brand that is getting stronger, and it doesn't just mean that they can become or we can become a central figure of a more decentralized world where that is worth joining. So it's worth joining this launchpad and use it for the launch like a springboard. Well, Attila mentioned the treasury, which works with voting. Each validator will have a vote. And this is where they will actually introduce the new projects, and then we can decide whether we support a given project or not. But the wonderful thing is that all these projects that are joining us can say, okay, they need more capital, or they can even say that the treasury doesn't approve, but nevertheless, they make an offer to the community. And from that point onwards, you can decide that you really like this project. And they can also make a good proposition to the salespeople, and then a different opportunity arises. So we heard it from many people that now if the Mosaic blockchain starts, then is it the end of Novalus? No, we have many good ideas like the Launchpad and then Horizon, etc., etc. And this platform is actually very good because immediately when Péter introduces the new packages, he'll come back to it. And imagine it's a single platform, but virtually it's split into two parts. We have our projects, the first one being Horizon, and then we have the external projects that Attila mentioned that there is already an applicant that wants to launch here. So we can also share in these. And what's more, with the token or coin of that project, and that offers a high number of opportunities. And we still have in mind what we said about alpha. There is this it's byte list, that's the name there. Maybe we have a different name, but we can actually call it a kind of filter. which actually reduces the chances of a project coming into the launchpad that was created specifically for fraudulent purposes, as Attila said. So that again reinforces the philosophy that we are trying to follow, which is to make it as easy for people to get to the information as possible so that they can make a decision with more certainty. Because out of the millions of projects, well, which one of us, apart from Attila and Péter, could decide which ones we should even contemplate? So with that, I pass back the floor to Péter Molnár so that Patty can explain and introduce how this project looks. And what's also very important is that it's a proposition for a limited time. So it's a limited time offer, which is valid until midnight on the 30th of June. And you may think that, okay, we already said it's the last date and then it was extended, etc., etc. But we cannot do it this time. It's not up to us. Attila also mentioned the legislation. And because of the legislation involved, we can be certain that that interval will be closed on that date. So it's only during this period that you can decide whether you see any potential in this and whether you want to have some more passive income or not this way. And then I pass the floor to Péter for the details. So we'll start the presentation, but of course, I forgot to share this screen. So now the second part comes about how people can participate in the operation and funding of this launchpad and why it's worth doing it. Can we put it on full screen? Without the slides on the left. Okay. So who can participate in this project and how? So let's start. As Attila said before, well, I'd like to highlight a few things as well. So from a technology point of view, it's not very complex. It can be created in a fast and easy manner, and we will do so. And for this reason, and also for legislative reasons, well, there are time limits on the whole project, and we also don't have to have it overfunded because we want to make it worthwhile and offer a return to the people who contribute in exchange for their investment and commitment. Another very good thing is that, as Attila also said before, and I have also been contacted by a number of people, so the good thing is that projects would be coming here. And news spread about Novolus and Mosaic among developers and other stakeholders. And I would say the success of Mosaic, not just the news about Mosaic, but the success story of Mosaic. And that opened up interest from several stakeholders who wish to know how they could come here and realize common benefits in the Mosaic ecosystem. And the third very important thing is, and Attila also talked about this, that the most successful launchpads are not decentralized. So there are launchpads in the world that are fully decentralized but unsuccessful. The successful launchpads are the launchpads where there is a certain degree of control, a strong filter for what kind of projects they are happy to take in. And the most important question is trust. So that people have the courage to invest in the different projects and trust that these projects become successful. And here there is a professional background that ensures it and guarantees it, to have the right projects on board. And that also causes the Mosaic ecosystem to grow and become successful, thus creating hand in hand a generation process that will bring these successes. But let's go into the details. Attila also mentioned that there are many different types of launch pads. They all have a somewhat different structure. However, the shared characteristic is that each launch pad in general asks for a certain share from the market capitalization of that launch. It can be 1%, 2%, 5%. It's always the result of an individual assessment. So why is it worth participating in this project? Well, because from this sum, a certain portion of this sum will be redivided to those or given to those who participate in funding the launchpad. And we'll come back to this chart in a moment. Attila also talked about the project's launching of the launchpad. So indeed, those that have been filtered appropriately and filled the gap have become very successful, realizing yields of hundreds, and Polygon even has a return rate of 1,000 times of the original price for those who actually obtained tokens and coins at the start. So how can you participate in this project? We will sell so-called launchpad packages, and the pricing will look exactly the same as for previous packages. So they can go from 100 to 25,000 USDT. So you can buy different packages on that range, and the higher package you buy, the stronger your commitment is. And through this purchase, they can enjoy more and increasingly more benefits. And as for the network benefits and what kind of commissions individuals become entitled to, they will be the same as in the old system. There is no change there, except for one very important thing, which is that for each and every package, the first level referral bonus will be 15%. So there will be no difference between 10 or 15% on the first level. Everyone will get a uniform 15% bonus for direct sales. So what do these packages offer? On the one hand, beyond this, they offer one-off and daily allocations. So if you purchase a package, then you receive a straightforward token quantity from the new tokens. It's very easy. At the beginning, in the 100 package, they get 1,000 tokens. The 250 offers you 2,500, and the ratios will actually change a little bit because the 750 offers 8,000, the 5,000 60,000, the 10,000 125,000, and the 25,000 will offer 300,000 tokens. So in proportion, there will be a shift of 25% between the smallest and the largest package. And as I said previously, there were weekly allocations. Now there will be daily allocations. So it's not worth sitting on a matter and thinking for a whole week about how to start. These allocations will take place continually. And after the dash sign, I don't know if you can see my pointer. So you can see 1000-10, and after the dash, you can see how many extra tokens you get daily as the owner of the package. With the 100 package, you get 10, 25, 80, 170, 600, 1,200, and the largest package offers you 3,000 tokens per day. And now we go back to the pools. You could see a pie chart before about pool 1 and pool 2 and how the allocations look between them. I'll quickly go back. Here, you can see about the two pie charts, the names of the project, Mosaic project as opposed to incoming or external projects. With the Mosaic project, 60% will be allocated in this pool. So when a Mosaic project starts, let's say Mosaic 3, and if we say that the maximum capitalization will be 1 billion tokens, so the total quantity issued, we offer, let's say, 5%, which is 50 million, and 60% of this will be added to pool 1, the Mosaic project pool, and this 60% will be allocated to those who contribute with the right package. That was pool 1. So if you purchase at least a 250 package, they will get one share, one part from this pool. And as we go up, the 750 gives you 3 shares, and then the 1,507, 5,030, 10,075, and the 25,000 package will offer you 200 shares of the pool. And there are the external or incoming projects. There again, 60% will be added to the pool. However, from the incoming projects, it's only starting from package 750 that you can share in. There you get 1 share, but all the other shares will be the same as for pool 1, 70, 30, 75, and 200 from the given pool. So when a project starts, let's say an external project where 1 billion tokens are issued, and they also pay 5% to Launchpad for the launch, then the 50 million tokens will be added to the pool, 60% of that, which is 30 million, and it will follow the same proportions depending on how many packages have been sold, obviously, but the ratios will stay the same from the start. There will also be pre-purchase rights allocated to those who have the right package. It's available from the package 1,500, and from the pre-purchase option, they will also be given an extra discount if they have a package larger than 1,500. It's important to note that the pre-purchase right always applies up until the value of the package. So you can buy tokens from the pre-purchase part in stage 0 or stage -1, as Attila called it, as the value of our package. So if we have 1,500, then up until USDT 1,500, and if we have 5,000 ones, then we can use the pre-purchase rights up to a value of 10,000. And of course, they add up. If I have 5,000 packages, I will be entitled to 15%. And if I have a total package value from the packages of 20,000, then I'll have 20% during the pre-purchase. Each package will have liquidity tokens, 10% USDT and 10% Launchpad tokens in the same way as before. As it's customary with the LFB packages, they will be then added to a liquidity pool. And there is also an investing period. After 2 years, they will be released. And from there onwards, they can be requested from the liquidity pool. And if they don't wish to keep them or use the extra opportunities for growing their liquidity and the extra income arising from it, that they can raise as commissions from the additional transaction fees, then they can keep the money in. We also have this interesting concept of patron NFT. So what's this patron NFT? If we go back to the pie chart, you can see that, 60% goes to the pool, 25% goes to the launchpad that funds the activities, as part of which there will be a due diligence run on the project. And as Attila said, we are also continually and regularly support the projects launching here to make it worthwhile for them to be here, because that can be a difference to which launchpad they choose, depending on the support they get from the professional team. And there is another 15% spent on different marketing costs. But if someone has the patron NFT, then you can see that here the 15% cost item is split to 3 times 5. 5% will certainly be spent on marketing activities, but 2 times 5% will be shared among patron NFT owners, holders. To what extent and how? 5% from this token quantity will be allocated to the person who actually brought in the project to the launchpad. It's actually not enough to just bring in a project, but the project must also be approved. So it's not a viable route to offer all kinds of projects and then hold our hand out for the money. But we need to bring in projects that are capable of passing the filter and get the approval and can launch on the launchpad. But if that happens, the person who recommended the project will get 5% of the total token quantity. And the other 5% will go to the person who sent on the NFT to the referring person. So the referrer of the referrer will get another 5%. In the 5,000 package, this is already available. In the 10,000 package, there are 3 such patron NFTs, and the 25,000 in the 25,000 package, there are 11 such patron NFTs. And what if someone says, I don't want to recommend anyone and I don't want to send it through, then you can convert it to a share within the pool. So they'll have a larger share of the starting project, which means that they are not going to refer this project because they believe that they don't want to do this, they don't have any acquaintances, persons, organizations who would launch such a project. Then they can convert it to share, and then they have a higher share of the project. And the patron NFT from package 5,000 and upwards can be purchased at a price of 1,000 USDT. If you have a package of at least 5,000, then you can get such patron NFTs. So if you have acquaintances that may or do launch such projects, or if you know people who can offer such projects, then it's worth getting patron NFTs separately. Many of you requested packages that can be obtained through work contribution. We'll keep them for the future as well. It's very important to know that if you previously had any kind of package that you paid for, you didn't receive for free, but you already had SV traffic, so they already purchased the USDT package, each package will be available to them at a discount of 20%. So they get it at a better price. They can also actually get packages through work. However, there are no other ways of using the discounts for these packages. And of course, in the future, if you get new discounts, we'll give you the opportunity to use them or make purchases at a discounted price. But for these packages, these are the only 2 ways. You either had a package before and you get a 20% discount, and then you can get the packages, or through work subject to certain conditions, and I'm going to explain the conditions, you can get these packages or obtain these packages. And it's important to know that if you get a package at a discount of 20% or 70%, then you cannot participate in liquidity, you don't get LV tokens, you only get the rest of the benefit. And let's see how you can get larger packages through work. We are talking about the 5,000, 10,000, and 25,000 work package, sorry. And there was a request that it shouldn't just be possible to get a package from a daily turnover value of 50,000. Previously, you could only get the 10,000 and 20,000 packages, and now you can also get the 5,000 package through work. For that, you need to realize an SV turnover of 20,000 and at least 1,500. That the first one always designates the USDT value. So for the 10,000 package, you need to realize a turnover of 50,000. So all the traffic adds up. So you need to reach at least 5,000 SV traffic. And if you wish to have the largest package, then you need to realize an SV traffic of 100,000, of which 5,000 needs to be from an SV aspect. So with each traffic figure, you need to keep to the 50% sideways rule, which means that none of our managers can bring more than 50% of the total traffic. Well, they can, but only 50% will count towards the given turnover. And from each package, you can get a maximum of one. And once someone has obtained the given package, we will reset the traffic or the turnover back to zero, and then it starts again. So you cannot actually have it cumulatively because you reach that turnover of 100,000. You actually have to reach an SV turnover of 170,000 for each of the packages. As it's been said before, it's very important. The packages are launching this April, next week. And as to which day, well, we'll tell you about it. Watch out. And as the developers said, Attila included, well, the rest of the developers are not really aware of what day it is, whether it's Sunday or Monday. They'll continue working during Easter. So indeed, we would like to launch it early next week, Monday or Tuesday, but we'll keep you informed. As for the daily allocations, well, they will take place from the midnight of the day when the first package is purchased, and the last allocation will take place on midnight on the 30th of September. So you can buy packages until the 30th of June, but the allocations will continue for rather 3 months. So the token allocations will continue to come to the package owners. And as I said before, if someone actually obtained a paying package before, they'll be entitled to a discount of 20% of the price of current packages, and they can be realized straight away, immediately, on the condition that out of the LP allocation, they will receive 20% more. So they will actually receive the LP share up until the value of the paid for package. But apart from this, there is no difference between the packages. So I think it's a very exciting and very good thing. And I believe that this is organically linked to the Mosaic ecosystem. And it's a kind of thing that will reinforce the chain very well, very positively. And as Attila also said, the chain is worth nothing without projects, as genius as it may be. but this allows us to bring in new projects, and I am sure I don't need to prove this to you because there are already several players knocking on our door saying they wish to participate in this and sell and launch their projects via this platform. So we simply just actually satisfy the demand that already pre-existed and fulfill the wishes that arose from other project owners. I don't think it's going to be difficult to fill the launchpad with life. So there are one or two pieces of information that I like to use as supplementary information coming back here. On the one hand, it's an important piece of information that, as Attila said, the high token will change into MLP tokens, Mosaic Launchpad tokens, but everything else will stay the same, the allocations and everything. So don't worry about it. Everything will go on unchanged. And also previously, every time there was a discount, as you can see the 20% here, well, first of all, we wish to say thank you to those who, from the very first moment and even on the last day, in the last minute, joined our support as well. We wanted to appreciate them in a special way, and therefore everyone who has an SV value, meaning they paid for it, it wasn't a gift, it wasn't obtained through promotion, they all qualify for the 20% discount. But previously, you always had to signal it to customer service, but now you don't. When the system picks up that you have such a package, when you go into package purchase early next week, we'll see the original package and then the 20% discount. So you don't have to write in specifically for you to realize your discount. That's very important. And the other point is about the NFT patron. I'd like to come back to that because I think it's a very good thing. We are fully aware that in our community, there are people who are serious crypto specialists, and there are some who see no chance whatsoever of being able to do anything else with Patron NFT. And that's why we came up with the idea of actually changing one for the other. As Patty said, from a package of 5,000, you can get Patron NFT and can buy any quantities. And as for those that are included in the packages, you can say, okay, I am not aware of any such projects, and I don't have acquaintances who would, because maybe you do, and then it's very good because then they get the 5% discount. So it works like a kind of referral link, and then you also get the 5%. So there is this part. But if you decide you are not interested, okay, let's make a small calculation. So let's see the biggest package. And next to it, you get 11 patron NFTs. And if you make calculations, that corresponds to 11,000 USDTs. And Patty also mentioned that if you believe you have no chance of doing it, you can convert it to share. Because, which is good, because in this particular package, you can make 55 more than 100. So if we say we want to have a bigger share from pool 2, then it will become 255 instead of 200. You can actually also not convert the entire pool. You can actually convert just 5, but then you decide whether you want to use it in pool 1 or pool 2, our own project or external project. If you convert all of the 11, you can say, I want to have 8 in pool 1 and 3 in pool 2. That you can do. What you cannot do is to split up the 5 shares for one NFT. That always goes as a single lot, and you can decide into which pool. And the deadline is the same, which is September the 30th, as Patty mentioned about the allocation of the NFT tokens. So by the 30th of September, No, I said it wrong. Sorry, that's the 30th of June, not September. So 30th of June is the deadline by which you need to decide whether you convert it or whether you want to use it in patron tokens. But I am sure you will all immediately know whether you have any chance of bringing in such projects. And I have actually seen a lot of companies where they said, okay, I purchased it because I can bring in projects, and then nothing happened. We have seen it before, but what is good about this Patron NFT is that that can never happen. Because as I said, there is a filter, so you can transfer it to the person once they have passed the filter, but you can also sell it. So when it comes to this, well, 11, he said 11,000, but not just 11 patron FTs. They can be transferred, they can be gifted away, or they can be sold. You can also sell them in exchange for them bringing their project in here, because it will only be, they will only be able to do so via you, because they need to have a patron NFT and no one else will have it. Well, you and your acquaintances. But then, of course, if they want to buy it from your acquaintances, they still need to pay the same price. So you even have this, which is also part of the picture. And the other point is that if the project doesn't go through the filter, it's not lost because they can pay you or they can give it to you. So you can still use it if the project doesn't go through the filter. But the best thing about this launchpad, to me personally, is that it's fully linked to the Mosaic project. It adds to the brand by giving life to it, bringing in new projects. By that, they actually increase the price of the Mosaic coin. So we can talk about anything else, but this is all we aim for. We all aim for. And as you know, day by day, we are getting closer and closer to the launch of the Mosaic blockchain. And that will be held by how soon we can feed it with life, which will take us to the moment that literally everyone is looking forward to. What is also important to mention about the packages that can be obtained through work, well, Patty explained what kind of turnover you need to generate, and then you have to keep to the 50% sideways rule as well. But due to the fact that there is a daily allocation in these packages, and it's an offer for a specific period of time until the midnight on 30th of June 2025, and that's it, that's the end of it. But if you think that you want to immediately use it, as soon as you get to 20,000, you have 1,500 and keep to the sideways rule, you can request it, we check it and credit it to you so that it's in the allocation at the midnight on the same day. Because if you come back to here, you can see that with the 5,000 package, it means 600 tokens. So when it comes to strategy, it's up to decide whether you immediately request the 5,000 or you immediately go for the 50,000 or 100,000. And because, of course, if I request the 5,000, you have to start from the start. And maybe while you are in momentum, you should go to 3,000 allocations per day. And then you say, okay, you do the other two after because you can already do this or that. So it's your decision. You need to decide. Of course, when you give us the signal, we check and we immediately credit the daily allocations so that you can receive them straight away. I think I have explained everything. What's also very important, and I'd like to come back to that, is that it's a significant change in our marketing plan that with each and every package, the first level referral bonus is 15% uniformly for everyone. So it's 5% higher than before. And that, of course, you know what that means when it comes to commissions. And what actually goes for the packages in terms of marketing, it's all the same. We haven't changed this so that you don't have to learn something else. Some are the same. Okay, the name of the package is different, but the content is not that complex. And then on the next week, well, now everyone goes off eating ham and eggs for Easter. But as the week starts, the packages start, you can buy them. And of course, we will also regularly communicate with you. We'll come back. You will be able to ask questions if it's unclear to you, but you can still send it to customer services if you wish. And in the meantime, we will still answer your questions. But as we always do, well, we can also do a questions and answers hour for you here as well. Yeah, I do apologize. One important piece of information was missed out, which is important, the SV-CV ratio. The value of CV is 50% of the SV, but yes, for Patron NFT, for the Launchpad packages is 50%, and for the Patron NFT, if you buy separately, the SV-CV ratio is 60%. That was very important. So I very much hope and trust that you like, firstly, the new project, which promises to be very exciting, and we see it as very good. And also the content of the new packages. And we look forward to hearing your feedback as to what you think about it. And we'll come regularly with new information, because we would have also been happy to launch well, once we are behind the onboarding process, but in the meantime, we had to go on because actually some of the developers were freed up. The UECR part was completed, so they can also start working on this, allowing us to launch this. So I wish everyone a very pleasant and good Easter holiday. Thank you for the interpreter for interpreting. It's my pleasure. Thank you for all the foreign partners for joining us tonight. And as customary, the video, both the English language and the Hungarian language video, will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. And of course, also in the web office under the videos menu item, and we'll share it via our communications platform. So tomorrow on, you'll be able to look at it. And of course, when it comes to the details of the packages and the launchpad, there will also be a newsletter issues in writing. As you know, since the 1st of January, we have been uploading newsletters to the web office as well. We already had a newsletter, it's up there, and the validator news is separate. It's only about validation for the validators. And as soon as we have the onboarding information, we will let you know. I'm keeping my fingers crossed night and day to make sure we are there as soon as possible so that we can teach you and train you, and so that you can fire up your machine and join. Just very quickly, we have lots of questions and comments. Well, where we can identify you, we'll give you an answer. And very soon, we will, I believe, have a questions and answers hour. Just one more point. If you have any question about Novalus Prime, new packages, etc., you can go info@novalusprime.com with alpha subwallet. You can go info@ or hello@mosaicalpha.com. So that's how the professional part is split. So anything to do with us, sales packages, etc., can be addressed to us. So once again, good night to everyone. Thank you very much once again for attending. And let's go for it from next week. And then immediately we'll be out with the news as soon as it happens. But I'm sure the packages will be there early next week. Thank you very much. Goodbye and good night, everyone. Bye.